Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some Pittsburgh Steelers breakdown and analysis of the Pittsburgh Steelers' 28-14 win over the Cleveland Browns in Week 18. The regular season finale, also the last game the Steelers will play in this season, being eliminated from the postseason because the Miami Dolphins beat the New York Jets 9-6 in the final seconds there. Let's recap what happened in this game. Pittsburgh, of course, going 7-2 since the bye to finish the year 9-8, and so Mike Tomlin's non-losing season, though I am not as big of a fan of the stat as many others are, I can appreciate it, and of course it continues, but the bottom line is there's certainly a lot of optimism to carry over into 2023. Of course, you wanted to make the playoffs and get in the dance and see what could happen. Pittsburgh nearly had a chance to do that in this game, everything kind of falling right for Pittsburgh. But to talk about the Browns, it was sloppy. It was certainly poorly officiated, and I don't like to talk about the refs too much, but it is unavoidable. The refs clearly wanting to go home in this one. They were not on their A game or B game or C game. Just overall more of the same. Pittsburgh found their footing with the run game in the second half. Najee Harris running hard and running healthy, and he had a really, just like the offense and this team, a really solid second half of the year. Health again having a big factor in that. Kenny Pickett not at his best, but made some plays, and the touchdown to George Pickens was a big one. Pickett talking about how he saw something on tape that the Saints did to Cleveland that Pittsburgh borrowed in this game that got Pickens open, so it's a blown coverage, but Pittsburgh, I think, had a big hand in that. Kenny Pickett had a big hand in that. Overall, pushing the ball downfield, George Pickens making plays. Certainly, you want to see, would expect to see the volume go up a fair amount next year, but he's a Z receiver, he's a rookie, and so you understood he's not going to be the super high volume guy, but certainly capitalizing on basically every chance that he got in this game. Offense still trying to finish drives, 2 of 4. One of them, of course, you had what appeared to be Najee Harris getting in the end zone on 1st and goal. 2 plays later, Harris fumbles. Tomlin should have challenged. Ref missed it. We can talk about that, and I think nobody did their job as they should have there, the refs or Mike Tomlin. But, putting all that aside, I thought defensively, generally it was a pretty good game. 14 points to the Browns, who still are a pretty, potent team. Their offense found their stride in the second half against Washington. I think early on, and certainly there was the popcorn of trying to contain Deshaun Watson, trying to bring Deshaun Watson down. Knew that was going to be an issue, certainly was. Pittsburgh did better in the second half, later in the game when they kind of pinned their ears back and expect pass, and ended up sacking him 7 times. And so the Steelers' final sack number, I think they'll have 39 to finish the year. So not the 50 sack streak is ended. We knew that was going to be the case for a while, but it feels like every finale against the Browns, you end up having a bunch of sacks to kind of boost that number. But I thought finishing some of those plays in the second half was pretty key. Nick Chubb got going in the second half a little bit as well, but no back-breaking runs. And generally speaking, the run defense was, acceptable, not abysmal, and not the story of this game of why Pittsburgh lost, had they, of course, lost this game. So that was positive overall. Defensively, making some splash plays, 2 picks, Levi Wallace, a bad throw by Watson, but still capitalizing, finishing by Levi Wallace 4 picks this year. That's a career high for him. And DeMonte Casey with a great read and jump on a check down throw to the back, and picked it off and ran it the other way for decent yardage. So getting splashed there. Pittsburgh, 20 interceptions as a defense this year. That's a big reason, again, for that second half turnaround. Pittsburgh finding an identity offensively, taking care of the football, largely speaking, and then playing just really solid defense. 7 straight games to end the season, the Pittsburgh held the opponent under 17 or fewer points, and that is quite a stat. Only one other defense in the NFL did that this year, the 49ers, and so to hold a team consistently under 17, even knowing scoring was down and they weren't playing the Eagles and the Bills and those teams in the first half of the season, I don't care. You do that 7 games in a row, that's really impressive. So, again, some positives to take over into 2023. So I won't spend too much more time on this game because ultimately, although we didn't know it until literally the final seconds of this game, that this one really wouldn't matter as Miami won their game essentially as Pittsburgh won theirs. But, I don't like to put up 9-8 as something to be cheerful about, and missing the playoffs again. Standard in Pittsburgh's not going above 500 and having non-losing seasons. It's putting trophies in trophy cases. It's winning the AFC North. It's being a Super Bowl contender. That's been the standard, the expectation since the 1970s. But you have to understand where this team was at, 2-6, 3-7, to progress the way they've progressed. To have hopefully a young nucleus of guys offensively. Shouldn't expect a ton of turnover there. There'll be some changes, and do need to mention, by the way, Pat Frymuth's injury. Hopefully we're not talking ACL. If it is, then we're talking about him trying to get ready and be available for week 1 of 2023. So that's something to note. We'll have to see what the injury is there. But young group offensively, encouraged by the play. A lot of those core guys, Pickens, Pickett, Harris, the O-line, Frymuth, assuming good health, etc. And defensively, there'll be a lot of turnover, at least a fair amount of turnover and changes. We'll see who gets re-signed. We have plenty of time to talk about that. But Cam Sutton, Terrell Edmonds, Larry Ogunjobi, Devin Bush, you're talking starters defensively, pending free agents, who returns, who goes elsewhere, who gets brought in, who gets drafted, all that kind of stuff. But this team overall, I think, is in a much better place now, obviously, than we thought so just 2 months ago. They have some young pieces intact. They're going to have a ton of cap space this offseason. They got high draft picks. They're going to have the essentially 32nd pick in the draft, the first pick of the second round. It'll be number 32 because the Dolphins are forfeiting their first-round pick in the Tom Brady scandal, saga, punishment, whatever you want to call that. And so Pittsburgh will have a high pick there, and of course the original second. So there'll be some draft day will be a lot of fun, although we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But just want to wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys following all regular season. Videos are not done. I have a deep dive on Kenny Pickett. I will do. It will take some time, but I'm going to go back and watch every single throw that Kenny Pickett made his rookie year. I'm going to break this thing down, hopefully every which way possible. That'll be a mega video that'll come out in the coming weeks. Got a ton of draft content ready for you guys, and we'll be starting that and transitioning to that, and a lot of tape breakdowns and reviews on the season. So please do not go anywhere. Please continue to support the channel. You guys have been fantastic this year. I know it's been a tough year at certain points, but certainly a reward for our kind of patience in watching the slog that was the first half of the year. So a lot more coming to you guys, and hopefully you stick around to hang out with me, hang out with Steelers Depot, and get ready for a very interesting Steelers offseason. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Appreciate you guys watching. If you guys could like this video, would really appreciate that. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate that as well, and we'll talk to you soon.